Coronaviruses are a large family of viruses that are known to cause illness ranging from the common cold to more severe diseases such as Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, MERS, and Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome, SARS. A novel coronavirus, COVID-19, was identified in 2019 in Wuhan, China. According to the instructions of World Health Organization, anyone can get sick with COVID-19 and become seriously ill or die at any age. Protect yourself and others from infection by staying at least 1 meter apart from others. Wearing a properly fitted mask, and washing your hands or using an alcohol-based rub frequently. Get vaccinated when it's your turn and follow local guidance. Sri Lanka is very beautiful, an island country located off the southern coast of India. Sri Lanka is surrounded by the Indian Ocean. Unfortunately, Sri Lanka also affected coronavirus disease, COVID-19. In Sri Lanka, the first case of COVID-19 was reported on January 27, 2020. There have been 587,596 infections and 14,997 coronavirus-related deaths reported in the country since the pandemic began. By the way, 289,719,378 total confirmed cases and 5,457,472 total deaths in the world reported still on January 1, 2022. When heard this sad situation in Sri Lanka, the world's famous Buddha painting master, Earth Zen person, international meditation teacher, founder of Enlightening Earth Association, Buddha Cultural Bodhisattva Association, Most Venerable Master Sun Hung, and their devotees with sponsors quickly taken actions. They collected the donations and sent to Sri Lanka, protect people from COVID-19 global coronavirus pandemic. Totally donations received US dollars 23,488.12. After that offered KN95 face masks, hand sanitizers, rice dry foods to venerable monks who live in rural areas in Sri Lanka. In village side people are very poor and they don't have money to buy face masks and hand sanitizers. Master Sun Hung and their devotees with sponsors decided to support to distribute KN95 face masks, hand sanitizers, rice dry foods to poor people. These are the photographs and videos when handing over to the poor people. Under the patronage of Master Sun Hung very successfully finished the program. When distributing these KN95 face masks, hand sanitizers, rice dry foods, people were very happy and they thanking to the Master Sun Hung and their devotees with sponsors in Taiwan. This is very big merits to the Master Sun Hung and their devotees with sponsors in Taiwan. The Buddha would always teach first and foremost about the value of giving before giving teachings such as morality, karma, and the Four Noble Truths. Giving leads to gaining good merits. Yet the amount of merit gained is determined by 3 factors: the intention behind the giving, the spiritual purity of the recipient, and the kind and size of the gift. When donating, please give with the intention of purifying your mind of greed and selfishness, knowing that your support for poor people that provides to them survive their very difficult lives. Spreading the Dhamma is the greatest gift of all, so please give generously. Material giving involves giving food to the hungry, shelter to the homeless, money to the poor. Giving of fearlessness means saving beings' lives, like insects or animals. Anybody can engage in these three types of giving every day. We can carry around small change or dollar to give to people begging in the worldwide. We can be on the lookout for poor people or people in need of help. The purpose of all this is, of course, to counter the attachment that tends to rule our life. International charities serve an important purpose by reaching out to those who are in need of assistance in areas where there is little or no resources available. These charities provide aid either by keeping good and healthy life of poor people who live in rural village areas or providing necessary supplies. Some international charities focus on poor people living in the areas with the greatest need for assistance. This committed to offering contemporary support for an awakening life. Your donations are deeply appreciated and ensure the continuance of the poor people's good care life here. Donation is mainly translated as generosity, the activity of giving without expecting anything in return. However, as often happens, the real meaning of Buddhist terms goes much beyond their English translation. Making merit is crucial in Buddhism, especially for lay practitioners, who, because of their busy life, can hardly find as much time and energy to dedicate to the life. We gain merit when our wholesome actions are pure, when they come straight from our hearts. Good actions bring good results. According to the Buddhist practice and teachings, for the one who gives merit is increased, from restraint hatred is not accumulated. The skillful one gives up what is bad, through the destruction of passion, hatred, and delusion, he is emancipated. Dana, donation, as a formal religious act is directed specifically to a monastic or spiritually developed person. In Buddhist thought, it has the effect of purifying and transforming the mind of the giver. Generosity developed through giving leads to experience of material wealth and possibly being reborn in happy states. In the Pali canons Digajana Sutta, generosity, denoted there by the Pali word kaga, which can be synonymous with dana, is identified as one of the 4 traits conditioning happiness and wealth in the next life. Conversely, lack of giving leads to unhappy states and poverty. Dana leads to one of the paramithas or perfections, the Danaparamita. This can be characterized by unattached and unconditional generosity, giving and letting go. Buddhists believe that giving without seeking anything in return leads to greater spiritual wealth. Moreover, it reduces the acquisitive impulses that ultimately lead to continued suffering from egotism. Dana, or generosity, can be given in both material or immaterial ways. Spiritual giving, or the gift of noble teachings, known as Dhammadana, is said by the Buddha to surpass all other gifts. This type of generosity includes those who elucidate the Buddha's teachings. The most common form of giving is in material gifts such as food, money, robes, and medicine. The practice of giving, or dana in Pali, has a preeminent place in the teachings of the Buddha. When he taught a graduated series of practices for people to engage in as they progress along the path, he always started by talking about the importance and benefits of the practice of generosity. Based on that foundation, he talked about the importance and benefits of the practice of ethics. Then he discussed the practices of calming the mind, and after that he described the insight practices, which, supported by a calm and stable mind, lead to enlightenment. Once a person had awakened, the Buddha often instructed him or her to go out to benefit others, to be of service. Service can be seen as an act of generosity, so the Buddhist path begins and ends with this virtue. Dana, donation, refers to the act of giving and to the donation itself. The Buddha used the word cage to refer to the inner virtue of generosity that ensures that dana is connected to the path. This use of cage is particularly significant because it also means relinquishment or renunciation. An act of generosity entails giving more than is required, customary, or expected relative to one's resources and circumstances. Certainly, it involves relinquishment of stinginess, clinging, and greed. In addition, generosity entails relinquishing some aspects of one's self-interest, and thus is a giving of oneself. The Buddha stressed that the spiritual efficacy of a gift is dependent not on the amount given, but rather on the attitude with which it is given. A small donation that stretches a person of little means is considered of greater spiritual consequence than a large, but personally insignificant donation from a wealthy person. For lay people, the Buddha considered the morally just acquisition of wealth and financial security to be a skillful source of happiness. However, he did not consider wealth to be an end in itself. Its value lay in the uses to which it was put. The Buddha likened a person who enjoyed wealth without sharing it with others to someone digging his own grave. The Buddha also compared the person who righteously earns wealth and gives it to the needy to a person with two eyes. The stingy person was compared to someone with only one eye.
พาหุงสหัสสมพิเนมิตาสาวุทันตังเครเมฆลังกุติตะโครสเสนามารังดานาทิธรรมเวทินาชิตวามุนินโทตันเตชะสาภวตุเมชยมังคลานิมาราติเรกมพิโยชิตาสัพพะราติงโครัมปนาระวะกามากามทาน
The Buddha understood giving to be a powerful source of merit with long-term benefits both in this life and in lives to come. While the teachings on merit do not carry much meaning for many Western Dharma practitioners, these teachings suggest unseen pathways by which consequences of our actions return to us. One way that the giver sees his or her generosity return is found in instant karma, the Buddhist idea that acts that you do have direct consequences on the state of your mind and heart, even as you do them. The consequences of giving are quite wonderful in the present moment. If we are present for them, we can receive these wonderful consequences during the act of giving. The Buddha emphasized the joy of giving. Dana is not meant to be obligatory or done reluctantly. Rather, dana should be performed when the giver is delighted before, during, and after giving. At its most basic level, dana in the Buddhist tradition means giving freely without expecting anything in return. The act of giving is purely out of compassion or goodwill, or the desire for someone else's well-being. Perhaps dana is more about how we are than what we do. Through generosity, we cultivate a generous spirit. Generosity of spirit will usually lead to generosity of action, but being a generous person is more important than any particular act of giving. After all, it is possible to give without its being a generous act. Although giving for the purposes of helping others is an important part of the motivation and joy of giving, the Buddha considered giving for the purpose of attaining nibbana as the highest motivation. For this purpose, one gives gifts to adorn and beautify the mind. Among these adornments are non-clinging, loving kindness, and concern for the well-being of others. We are really appreciating your kind help during this valuable and difficult time. The support is one of the essential preliminary steps in Buddhist practice. When practiced, it is a basis of merit or wholesome karma. According to the Lord Gautama Buddha's teaching, Dhamma almsgiving is the noble alms, and exploring the Dhamma worldwide is one of the most valuable merits. Therefore, we are thanking in our heart fully forever to you. We wish to all of you, full of health, happiness, success. May Triple Gem bless you every time. Live a long life in health. Namo Amitabha.